again. Hello. My name's Adrian Garratt, here with you again with another musical quiz featuring me and my trusty violin and my trusty bow and my trusty contact sheet. Get in touch now. So a bit of background. Again, if you're joining me for the first time, so normally I play music on my violin in the wards in Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, and also West Middlesex Hospital, as part of the Arts for All programme, run by the hospital charity CW+. And now we're online. We're online in these strange times with Virtual Connections, which is the online version of Arts for All. I'm doing some quizzes, some musical quizzes. This is quiz number 8, believe it or not. Quiz number 8. You can gorge on them on the CW+ website, or you can, you can stagger yourself and have one a week, or one a day, or one a month, or whatever. But they've all got a theme. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to play, I think, 8 pieces of music. 8 pieces of music. We're going to have some questions about each one after the piece. And then some answers halfway through the quiz, and some more answers at the end. And then there'll be a couple of rollover questions for next time. And also some answers from last time's rollover questions. So we're going to start with those. And yeah, you can get in touch. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you can get in touch by using this vintage email address, arts@cwplus.org.uk. You can tell us things. You can request music to go into the next quiz. You can tell us what you're thinking, what you're drinking, what you're eating, anything like that. Anyway, so rollover questions. So yeah, normally I should shout out to the wards. Shout out to Starlight Ward in West Middlesex Hospital. That's the paediatric ward that I play in sometimes. And then the older wards in Chelsea and Westminster, to Nell Gwyn, to Rainsford Moleham, to Lord Wigram. Hello if you are in there watching on a Hospedia screen. Hello to the staff in there doing a splendid job. Good stuff. All right, so yeah, rollover questions from last week. So last week our theme was, who knows? Not going to tell you. But we had a couple of questions, rollover questions. One of them, we had a piece by Prokofiev last week, Peter and the Wolf. We have that bit of music, which is the theme to Peter. From Peter and the Wolf, because all the characters have their own bit of music, I'm sure you know that. So my rollover question about Peter and the Wolf was, which animal is it that ends up inside the wolf? Which animal ends up inside the wolf? And the answer is, of course, the cat. Only joking, it's the duck. It's the duck. The duck ends up inside the wolf, I think, at the end, still quacking. So still alive inside the wolf. How strange. So that's the duck. Can't remember the music for the duck. More difficult than Peter. Anyway, so the duck ends up inside the wolf. Question number 2, rollover question number 2 from last week. So we also had this one. The very famous, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? Famous way back when, many years ago. American initially, and then some English singer called Lita Rosa, recorded it in England. Big hit in England. So it's a dog-related question, and that is, how many breeds of dog are there in the world? Pick a number, any number, double it, and then that'll probably be about right. So according to the World Canine Organisation, the authority on such things, according to the World Canine Organisation, there are currently 339 breeds of dog in the world. Did you get it right? Did you? Okay, well done. So 339 breeds. Of course, I'm not sure there's another organisation would say a different number, but apparently that is the organisation, the World Canine Organisation. So, on to the music for this week. We're going to open with this cheery number. So there you go. You know that one. What's it called though? What's it called? Is that the first question? No, that's not the first question. Well, it's either called Country Gardens or more popular. I mean, I know it as an English Country Garden or English Country Garden, but apparently it's called Country Gardens. Anyway, it's an old folk tune, apparently, recorded famously in 1961 by Jimmy Rogers. Jimmy Rogers, not the snooker player. Jimmy Rogers recorded that in 1961 and big hit for him. He's not English, even though he sang about an English country garden, because he changed the words a bit, and he was talking about an English country garden, but it's actually called Country Gardens. But he's not from England. Where's he from? Where's he from? That's question number one. Where is Jimmy Rogers from? Question number two. The tune is often used for a kind of English dancing. A kind of English dancing. What is the name of this kind of dancing? This traditional English dancing that is often used for. What is the name of that kind of dancing? Perhaps you join in. Perhaps you do a bit of that dancing. Perhaps you can, I don't know. Nice to see you doing a bit of that dancing now. Okay, so perhaps we'll all have a little dance later on to that kind of dancing. What is that kind of dancing called? And that tune was used every day. It's warm here today, it's warm. The tune was used every day between 1978 and 2006 on the radio as part of a medley that introduced the day's broadcasting. So every day it was used between 1978 and 2006 as part of a medley that introduced the day's broadcasting on that particular station. And my question to you is, which BBC radio station was it used on? So it's part of a medley that introduced the day's broadcasting on this particular BBC radio network. What was the name of the BBC radio station that used that tune in its introductory medley to the day's broadcasting? News to me, that one. There you go. Right, so next piece. We're going to go back in time now. Well, no, possibly forward in time, actually, because the old country gardens was, I think quite old, like 18th century. And this, I think, is 19th century. 19th century. So here we go. So that was a bit of, quite often a bit of, what it normally does is it goes on to a completely different bit and then comes back to that bit at the end. But it's called the Flower Duet. The Flower Duet, it's taken from an opera composed by Leo Delibes, in 1883. So yeah, end of the 19th century. And my first question, question number four is, what is the name of the opera that Delibes wrote that is taken from? So Delibes Opera 1883, what's it called? Question number 5. A version of this duet was used to advertise an airline in the 1980s. Could this be the easiest question ever? Who knows? What's the name of the airline? So a version of, not quite that tune, but a version of that tune by Delibes was used to advertise an airline in the 1980s. What is the name of the airline? And question number 6, question about the visage of Mr. Leo Delibes. So Mr. Leo Delibes sported what on his face? Did he sport A massive moustache, B, a massive beard, or C, massive sideburns? Did he, I mean, none of these things evident on my face today. Did he support? Did he support and support? Did he sport a massive moustache or a massive beard? That's B. Or C, massive sideburns. There you go. Some highbrow questions there about Dilip. And now another piece. Now, I think I did this one a few weeks ago. So yeah. Here it is again. It's one of my favourites, and it just happens to sort of fit in this theme as well as the other theme. So this is a nice romantic, sad romantic song. I can't remember how it goes. No, it's not that one. My memory's failed me, so I'm going to tell a joke. No, I'm not going to tell a joke. I'm just going to. Oh yeah, I remember now. No clues. I've just got to sit here and go. What is it? It goes like this. What I did then was remember a tune that is quite similar, but not the same. Nicked by Mr. Well, I won't say his name. There's another tune which features in a recent musical, which is very similar to this. This is also a musical tune. It goes like this. So that was I Won't Send Roses. I Won't Send Roses, written by Jerry Herman. And Michael Stewart. And they wrote that as part of their 1974 musical Mac and Mabel. More recent than I thought. No date of it. I thought it was much older than that. Yeah, 1974 musical Mac and Mabel. It received 8 Tony nominations that year. So Tony nominations, you know, the musical awards, very prestigious in America, and it received 8 nominations that year in New York. And my first question about this is, how long did it run for on Broadway? So it ran on Broadway for a little while. Did it run for A, 8 years, B, 8 months, or C, 8 weeks? So it received 8 nominations. It's a question about 8s, this one. 8 nominations in the Tony Awards in 1974 in America. And it was on Broadway. Was it on Broadway for A, 8 years, B, 8 months, or C, 8 weeks? There you go, Mac and Mabel. Now, question number 8 is a question about ice dancing. And the question is, which ice dancing duo used the overture to this musical for their gold-winning routine at the World Figure Skating Championships in 1982? So which ice dancing duo used the overture to this musical, Mac and Mabel, for their gold-winning performance at the World Figure Skating Championships in 1982? I think you might get that one. Might do. And question 9. Jerry Herman, he wrote the music to I Won't Send Roses. He wrote Hello Dolly, the song. It's taken from his musical with the same name. It was a #1 hit for Louis Armstrong in 1964. And my question is this. When it got to #1 in 1964, it knocked a band off the #1 spot. And they've been there for 14 weeks with a succession of 3 different #1 hit singles. What is the name of that band? Simple. So what's the name of the band? Louis Armstrong knocked off the #1 spot in America with Hello Dolly in 1964. Another song written by Jerry Herman, who wrote Mac and Mabel. Got it? Good. Are you writing these answers down? Good. If you're not able to, if you're lying in a bed watching it on a Hospidia screen, you can just remember in your head. Otherwise, write them down. Write them down. Pen, pencil, phone, laptop, whatever. On your friend. And now, number 4. Song number 4. Concluding the first part of the questions for this week. Slightly different this one, a bit more modern. There you go, an abridged version of the famous and beautiful and amazing Sweet Child of Mine. Yeah, so Sweet Child of Mine didn't get quite as far as the guitar solo, one day perhaps. So question number 10, first question about that song is, what's the name of the band? What's the name of the band who wrote that song? Shouldn't be too tricky. So Sweet Child of Mine, from I think their debut album, possibly. Don't know. 1988? Making it up. What's the name of the band? Now, the guitarist in the band, a chap called Slash, grew up in which English town known historically for pottery? So Slash, the legend that is Slash, one of the finest guitarists in the world, grew up in an English town known for its pottery. What is the name of that town? He's born in London, but then he grew up in this other place in England. What's the name of that town? And question number 12, the lead singer of the band, Axl Rose, clue to question number 10, stood in as a lead singer in 2016 in another band, when their lead singer, Brian Johnson, got a bit poorly. He had a bit of difficulty with his ears. So he had to step down. And Axl Rose stepped in. So my question number 12 is, what is the name of that band? So Axl Rose did a bit of depping in 2016, where he stood in for another singer. Brian Johnson was poorly. Dodgy ear. Was it this one? Who knows? Possibly both of them. Could be both of them, actually. So yeah, Brian Johnson stepped down. Axl Rose stood in for a tour, quite a long tour, with this other band. What is the name of the other band? Quite a short name. And that brings us to the answers. Or the answers to part 1 of quiz number 8 here on the Virtual Connections Arts for All. So questions. So we started off this one. The Country Gardens, called Country Gardens, also known as English Country Garden, I think. So old English folk tune, recorded famously in 1961 by Jimmy Rogers. Jimmy Rogers recorded that in 1961. He's not English. Where's he from? Where is Jimmy Rogers from? And the answer is, he is from America. Yeah, so he recorded that in 1961. He changed quite a lot of the words, apparently, or, because it talks about how there's flowers in this garden and then how there's insects and stuff. And quite a lot of the flowers and insects that he sang about weren't English. They were American, because he's American. So there you go. Random fact. Now, question number 2 was, it's often used to accompany a kind of English dancing. What is the name of that kind of English dancing? It is, of course, Morris dancing. Hands up if you're a Morris dancer. Hands up if you've thought of doing a bit of Morris dancing. Hands up if you are not a fan. That's what I thought. Okay, so Morris dancing is used, and that tune was used every day as part of a medley to introduce the programmes on a certain BBC radio station. So there was a medley in the morning, every day it went, here we go with some radio programmes. And the radio station, what was the radio station? It was Radio 4. Radio 4. So there you go. Between 1978 and 2006. Apparently when they scrapped the introductory medley, there was a lot of, there was a lot of discussion. Possibly even some in the House of Parliament. Radio 4 often makes it into the House of Parliament. And then we've had this one. I made a big mistake when I played it before, so sorry about that. The Flower Duet by Leo Delibes, taken from which opera? Which 1883 opera by Delibes? And the answer is Lakme. Lakme. A little bit exotic, the opera. So Lakme is the opera. Now, a version of that song was used to advertise which airline in the 1980s? Which airline used that song, or a version of that song, to advertise their services in the 1980s? It was, of course, BA. British Airways used that song. Very famous advert. And question number 6. Leo Delibes sported what on his face? Was it a massive moustache? Was it a massive beard? Or was it a massive selection of sideburns? Moustache, beard, or sideburns? A, B, or C? And the answer is B. But well, he sort of had a beard as well. He has a moustache as well, but it wasn't a, wasn't an Elgar moustache. It was just one on top of a massive beard. So Delibes, big beard, old Delibes, as was the fashion of the day, and quite fashionable now. If you did some composing in Hoxton, in London. Now the next one was this one. One of my favourites. I Won't Send Roses, from the 1974 musical Mac and Mabel, written by Jerry Herman and Michael Stewart. And my question was, oh yes, it won lots of nominations, 8 nominations in the Tony Awards in New York that year. And my question was, how long did it run for on Broadway? All the 8s, was it 8 years? Was it 8 months? Or was it 8 weeks? A, B, or C? What did you get? That's what I thought. 8 weeks. It only ran for 8 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Harsh. Big loss there. Big loss. All right, so 8 weeks. Despite all those nominations, it was good. Well, the music was reckoned to be very good. The storyline, not so good. Now, which ice dancing duo, legendary ice dancing duo, used the overture to Mac and Mabel for their 1982 gold medal performance in the World Figure Skating Championships? It was, of course, Jane Torval and Christopher Dean. Jane Torval and Christopher Dean. Who else could it have been? I mean, really. Yeah, they used it in 1982, and then Jerry Herman's song "Hello Dolly," taken from "Hello Dolly," the musical of the same name, got to #1 in America in 1964, sung by Louis Armstrong. And it knocked a band off the #1 spot. They've been there for 14 weeks with 3 consecutive different #1 hit singles. What's the name of that band? Did you get it? It's the good old Beatles. Good old Beatles. Up they were with their #1 run of 14 weeks. But yeah, Jerry Herman's song knocked them off the top. Well done, Jerry. And then finally we had this one. The legendary. What do you think of my guitar impression? Not good. Okay, so that was Sweet Child of Mine. Sweet Child of Mine by which band? The name of the band, please, is Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses. So the guitarist in the bus, question number 10. Question number 10, Guns N' Roses. Question number 11, a question about the guitarist. The guitarist in the band / real name, Saul Can't remember his second name. The guitarist in the band, Slash, grew up in which English town famous for its pottery? Pottery. What are you thinking? Pottery. It's got to be somewhere near some clay. Got to be somewhere near some coal. Are you thinking Stoke? Possibly. Well, that's where he grew up. He grew up in Stoke. Stoke-on-Trent. Born in London, grew up in Stoke-on-Trent. Then he moved to America with his mum, I think. She was American. And he lived a high life there and started playing guitar. And now he's brilliant. He's amazing. That's Slash for you there. And then question 12. The lead singer of the band, Axl Rose, stood in for another lead singer, Brian Johnson, in a very famous band in 2016, 2017, when they went on tour. I asked you what the name of that band is. So the name of the band that Brian Johnson used to front is... I'll give you a clue. Yep, it's another heavy rock band, AC/DC. AC/DC, so Brian Johnson, yeah, sadly, bad ears. I think he stopped now, which is very sad because he's amazing. So Axl Rose stood in for Brian Johnson when they went on tour in 2016. And now it's time for the intermission. We had that one before. What are we going to have this week? How about this one? No, start on all note. Start on F. Makes more sense. Right, here we go. Bit of opera for you. So no questions for this one. Just listen, relax, have a drink, have a relax, sit down, chill out. That was the intermezzo, very appropriate, the intermezzo from Cavaliere Rusticana by Mascagni. So there you go. Don't know we've had it before? Not sure. So back to the quiz. Part 2, starting with another bit of classical music. A bit of Tchaikovsky, which goes like this.
What was that? What was that? That was the Waltz of the Flowers, taken from which ballet? Which ballet by Tchaikovsky? So question number 13, first question of part 2. Which ballet is that taken from by Tchaikovsky? And the next question, question number 14. What time of year is this ballet associated with? Because of the storyline, really. Yeah, what time of year is this ballet associated with? When do people tend to go and see this ballet in the year? It's question number 14. Question number 15. It was featured in a Disney film, a Disney animation in 1940. Big clue there. What is the name of that Disney film? What is the name of the Disney film 1940 that song, piece, bit of ballet featured in? And now a song by the Beatles. Famous one, obviously. Should we have a really easy question? A really easy one? What's the name of the song? What's the name of the song? Right, that's a sneaky extra question there, because I think, sometimes we need an easy one, don't we? So, what's the name of the song? That's a sneaky question before question 16. That's question 15 and a half. Question 16, on which Beatles album did that song appear? 1966 Beatles album. What is the name of the album on which that appeared? Question 17 was released as a single as well, and on the B-side was a very contrasting song. So that one's quite a thoughtful one. That one, lyric-wise, in the minor key, and the song on the other side not in the minor key and really quite silly. So what's the name of the song on the B-side?
And in the original version of that song, not telling you what it's called, there was a particular instrument of the orchestra, orchestral instruments, which were featured prominently on that recording. And my question is, what group of instruments were featured prominently on the original recording of that Beatles song? All right, so that's question number 18. And now cracking on with the next one. It's another old favourite as well, another old favourite. That was the, always want to make sure before I launch into the name of the song, whether that's actually not the next question. It's not, it's okay. That song is called it's a very long title, When the Red, Red Robin Comes Bob, Gob, Bobbin, Bob, Gob, Bob, 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 Bob. I'll say it again. When the Red, Red Robin Comes Bob, Bob, Bobbin along. What a cheery tune. I listened to a version sung by Julie London, which is much more sort of chilled out. It's very nice. Anyway, so it was written by an American songwriter called Harry Woods. My first question is, what year did he write that song in? How old is that song? So Harry Woods, he wrote that song in what year? Which year? And question 20. The most famous recording is by Al Jolson. Al Jolson, when he recorded this song, he was the US's most famous and highly paid entertainer, which is good going. And he was the star of a 1927 film called The Jazz Singer. My question is, why is The Jazz Singer, the film The Jazz Singer, such a significant film? So 1927 film he was the star of. Gives you a clue, obviously, to when the song was written. But he was a star of this 1927 film called The Jazz Singer. My question is, why was The Jazz Singer film so significant? That's number 20. And question 21, which English football club play Billy Cotton's version of this song as their team come out onto the pitch at their home ground, clue, at their home ground, the Valley? So one of you sports lovers out there, which English football club play Billy Cotton's version of this song, The Red, Red Robin, as their team come onto the pitch at their home ground, the Valley? There you go, it's question number 21, and only one left. Only one song left, and it's this one. Very different, but also American. is the Orange Blossom Special. The Orange Blossom Special. Bit of hoedown stuff there. It's still warm here. So, the Orange Blossom Special, written by Irvin T. Rouse. Irvin T. Rouse wrote that tune in 1938. 1938, after seeing the famous passenger train that gives its name to the tune. So, there's a train called the Orange Blossom Special. The train ran between New York and which sunny American state? Which sunny US state did it run between? New York and... Alright, so that's question number 22. So the Orange Blossom Special, luxury passenger train, ran between New York and which American sunny state? Question number 23. Name the band famous for their song Mr. Blue Sky, who used to cover that song in some of their live performances. So a band famous for the song Mr. Blue Sky used to cover Orange Blossom or Orange Special in some of their live shows. And the last question today, comedian Steve Martin, legendary comedian Steve Martin, sometimes played that song in his live shows. And my question is, which instrument did Steve Martin play that song on? Which instrument Steve Martin used to play Orange Blossom Special in some of his live shows on which instrument? And that concludes the questions in part 2. So now it's time for the answers. The answers to part 2. So we started with a waltz. We started with this one. Tchaikovsky. It's taken from which ballet? Which ballet is that taken from? Which of Tchaikovsky's ballets? And the answer is the Nutcracker. The Nutcracker. Question 14. What time of year is the ballet associated with? It's associated with Christmas because the story is all about Christmas. It's about a family who see their tree beautifully decorated on Christmas Eve, and then a magical story unfolds of all the toys coming to life. One of which is a Nutcracker. And it was featured in which Disney film? Which 1940 Disney film? Probably only one in 1940. And the answer is, I'll give you another clue to the answer. Broomsticks, anyone? Harry Potter? So that was Fantasia. Fantasia, 1940 Disney film Fantasia, featuring the Waltz of the Flowers from Nutcracker. And then we moved on to this very famous song. Another Lennon and McCartney classic, which appeared on which Beatles album? Oh yeah, what song was it? Question 15 and a half. What song? Eleanor Rigby, of course. Featured on which Beatles album of 1966? And the answer is Revolver. Revolver, 1966 Beatles album. Which very contrasting song was on the B-side of the single release of Eleanor Rigby? It was this one. Oh no, not that one. Oh dear. This one. Yellow Submarine on the B-side of Eleanor Rigby in 1966. And what else do we have? Oh yeah, which orchestral instruments feature predominantly or prominently on the original recording of that song? Which orchestral instruments? And the answer is the string section. The string section. I always thought it was a string quartet. It's not. But it's probably a string quartet parts. But yeah, 3 violins, 2 violas, and a cello. And the string arrangements were done by that Martin. What's his name? I've forgotten his name. The guy who produced all the Beatles stuff. Anyway, someone Martin? Yes, I think. I'll look it up for next week. So string instruments is the answer to question number 18. Question number 19, we had the old... The Red Red Robin comes Bob Gob Gobbin. Written in America by the songwriter Harry Woods in what year? And the year was 1926. 1926. That song's been kicking around since. Nearly 100 years old. The most famous recording is by Al Jolson. Question number 20 this is. He recorded the song around then. He was, at the time, the US's most famous and well-played entertainer. And he starred in a film, many films probably, but he starred in one called The Jazz Singer. The Jazz Singer, which is a very famous film. For what reason? What reason? Why is The Jazz Singer the most famous song? Or why is it such a famous film, sorry? Because it was the first talking film, the first talking picture. So there you go. The first talkie. And question number 21. Which English football club played Billy Cotton's version of the Red Red Robin as their players come onto the pitch, their home ground, through the home ground of the Valley? The Valley. And the answer is Charlton Athletic. There's a question I would not have known the answer to before I wrote this. Not a sports person, me. So Charlton Athletic play Billy Cotton's version of that song. And our last one was this one. So many notes, so many notes. Orange Blossom Special. Irving T. Rouse wrote it in 1938, after seeing the famous passenger train, which gives the song its name. And the train ran between New York and which sunny US state? And the sunny US state is Florida. I used to run all the way down the coast. East Coast? West Coast? East Coast, I think. East Coast. Name the band. Question number 23. Name the band famous for the song Mr. Blue Sky. Big hint. Who covered this song in some of their live performances. And the band is called ELO. Hello. And question 24. Last question. Steve Martin quite often played that song in his live shows. On what instrument? What instrument? I'll give you a clue. The banjo. One of the finest exponents of the banjo in the world, Mr. Steve Martin. Sickeningly talented. Or skilled anyway. So Steve Martin used to play on the banjo in his live shows. And that brings me to the end of this week's quiz. This week, this session, don't know. Quiz number 8. So thanks for joining me. Before we go, a couple of things to tell you. Firstly, what's the theme? What's the theme this week? Did you get it? Did you get it? We had English Country Garden. Big clue. Flower Duet, I Won't Send Roses, Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, Waltz of the Flowers. We had the Beatles with Eleanor Rigby. That'll be Beatles. Red Red Robin and Orange Blossom. It was Gardens. Quite like the Beatles. That's my favourite one there, I think. So Gardens was this week's theme. And we have a couple of rollover questions for next time, for quiz number 9. So, the rollover questions are, harking back to the old... Oh dear, I can't play it all now. I've lost it. Bit of Nutcracker question. In the Nutcracker, which is a toy given to one of the daughters of the family, is carved in the shape of a character. It's carved in the shape of a character. Is that character a man, A, B, a woman, or C, a dog? A man, B, a woman, or C, a dog? It goes on to feature strongly in Act 2 when it comes to life. So the Nutcracker is a carved in the shape of a character, a man, a woman, or a dog. And then the second rollover question, which city in the UK was the musical Mac and Mabel first performed in? I mean, it could be any, couldn't it, really? Probably London, but it's not London. It's not London. I'll give you a clue. It's not London. None of the sort of big four, actually. So Mac and Mabel first performed in the UK in which city? And I'll give you a clue. And it is also the hometown of Torval and Dean. Also the hometown of Torval and Dean, where Mac and Mabel was first performed. Which is because when they performed it, they released a cast recording, and when Torval and Dean were looking for music to perform to, they went through the music archives in the library in this city and found it, which is why they used it in their 1982 performance. So there you go. So which city were Torval and Dean from and Mac and Mabel first produced? I think that's it. That's it. Join me again in session number 9. If you're catching up on these, then it's probably just below this one on the CW Plus website. There's also a questionnaire actually. If you can find the time to fill in a short questionnaire and tell us what you think about this, this and the other stuff. So all the arts practitioners who work regularly at the hospitals, Chelsea and Westminster and West Mids, have been asked to participate in this online version, the Virtual Connections version of the Arts for All programme, organised by CW Plus, a charity. So there's lots and lots of stuff on this website. If you're watching it on the CW Plus website, loads and loads of other videos as well by the arts practitioners. So check them out. There's a feedback form, I think, below or above this on the page. So fill that out as well if you have time and let us know what you think. Or you can email this email address, arts@cwplus.org.uk, arts@cwplus.org.uk. If you let me know if there's any tunes you'd like me to play, then there is the intermission section of the show, of the quiz, so I can play them there, or I might even be able to weave it into the quiz itself. But yeah, things might change in the next few weeks with regards to the quiz, so watch this space. But this is number 8. I look forward to seeing you in number 9, and stay safe, stay well. Until then, Adrian Garratt saying goodbye from the Arts for All Virtual Connections website. Bye. Stay safe. Bye bye. Bye bye.